right, so our lesson on calendars today has a lot to do with the history that we're studying right now. And it impacts us today because over time, and partly our lesson is going to teach us this, over centuries and centuries, thousands of years, we don't have an accurate calendar because it's changed multiple times. So our lesson today is going to lead us through the curiosity of time. Okay, so let's walk through these questions. Okay, so calendars. What kind of calendars have you heard of? Maya.
We use the Gregorian calendar.
Okay, Maya says we're using the Gregorian calendar. Do you know what that means? Sort of? Well, we're going to learn about that too. Go, Gretchen.
Chinese calendar, but I don't think anyone uses it.
Okay, excellent. Chinese calendar. Yes, they do. Yeah, every year we have a Chinese New Year. Okay, we don't necessarily. I'm not a Chinese American, so I don't celebrate it. But trust me, Chinese Americans and Chinese people around the world celebrate it. There is a Chinese calendar. Any other calendars that you are heard of?
I don't know what it's called, but it's like the ones that we use. That's one of my home.
Okay. Yeah.
The Islamic calendar.
Islamic calendar? Okay. Interesting.
I looked up what the Gregorian calendar is. It says the calendar introduced in 1582 by Pope Gregory the 13th as a modification to the Julian.
Ah, the Julian calendar. And there's a calendar that we're not going to study, but someone in this class has the name. Her name is this name. This cultural had this type of calendar too.
M-A-Y-A.
She's wearing light blue.
Oh.
Wayne?
Mayan?
Yeah, the Mayan calendar, yeah. not to put you on the spot there. Mayan calendar. Mayans were a cultural group that very interesting in South America and Central America. Yeah, so. Gilberto?
Are each calendar different?
Are each calendar different?
Yes.
Thinking yes? Lane?
I looked up the Mayan calendar.
Mostly.
It looks way different.
Mostly
Mostly. Hopefully we'll answer that question for you.
pictures are different.
Any other calendars we've heard of? All right, let's continue. Number 2. What do you think calendars are used for? Ryan,
They are used to document time.
document time. Ben?
They're used to see what day it is.
Okay. I find that very helpful because I get confused easily.
To help you stay on schedule.
Okay.
To know when past events or upcoming events are coming to be.
Okay. Cam?
To measure date and time.
All right.
Farming, so to know.
Ooh, farming's a good one here in Iowa. Absolutely. Yeah. Very good. And calendars can take all different images, right? I mean, I think I've got 4 calendars on my wall in here. Got a calendar on this thing I put in my pocket I never use because it's too small. Okay. I got something I write. I'll bet your mom's will have one somewhere. Kitchen,
No.
fridge,
I don't got a calendar.
Anna's schedule, right? Maggie's schedule, Dad's schedule. Gilberto, question?
I'm scratching my head.
Okay.
I could be a good question like this.
All right. How is quote one day usually defined? When?
24 hours.
Okay, 24 hours. Aiden?
One out of the 368, I think 5 days of the year.
Okay. Cam?
Day and night.
All right, that's interesting. Ben?
A day and a month.
Okay. All good answers? Blake?
Either like Sunday, Monday, all those days.
1,440 minutes.
Very good. Did a little math there, or you cheated and Googled it, which is okay. Solid.
86,400 seconds.
All right. And we're getting very technical there.
Yep.
Do you think, we mentioned other calendars, do you think a day is the same for everybody?
No.
question yet?
No,
No,
don't think it's gonna be the
no.
other one.
Alright. Well, again, hopefully we'll figure out what one to Aiden.
The Mayan the HAAB calendar has 18 months and 20 days in each month, and which is, it says 5 days in 1 month, wait, 18 months, 20 days, and each 1 month is only 5 days long.
Oh, interesting. Lane?
I believe there's like a Mayan calendar and it ended a while ago, so they added some years, quite a few years to it, so that it kept going.
Okay. Gilberto?
I got a question now. Is each calendar have the same time?
Those of you who've been looking up images of calendars. This question, does each calendar keep the same time the same way?
Each day?
And
month?
Spencer shaking his head no. No, they don't. And again, we're only going to look at a couple of calendars that have to deal with our study of Rome and how it affects us. But, Julie,
The equinox does not have equal day and night.
what are you talking about, equinox? What the heck is that?
The timer of day at which the sun crosses the celestial equator, when day and night are of equal length, about September 22nd and March 20th.
Okay, we just celebrated it, right? What season are we in? Spring. We just entered into spring because of the spring equinox. Does that bring any ideas to mind? What are those whatevers? Equinox. What are they? Oh, I'm so glad you asked. We're going to look at a couple of ways to look at that with a couple of videos I have and also with a document I have. Lane?
Does that mean there would be one for every season?
Does that mean there's an equinox for every season? Well, she read 2, right? So which 2 are we seeming lacking? Yeah, when spring turns to summer and when our autumn turns to winter. Okay, we still recognize that because of what you're going to see later, part of the science of the calendar, because it is all based on science, by the way.
Well, like, isn't the turning into summer and turning out into fall the solstice?
Yes, and we call those the solstice, which again has to do with the science involved in calendars. Calendars also have a lot of superstition involved with them, and again, we're going to see some really interesting things with a couple of short videos probably tomorrow.
What type of superstition?
Well, let's face it. And some of you have looked up some of the other calendars. Some of the superstitions have to do with their gods, right? We've talked already about Greek gods, and the way they imaged, what causes the sun to quote move, which we know it doesn't, at least not the way we think it does. But it's a god, so some of the superstitions had to do with the gods, their religion, and other things they couldn't explain. Yeah.
We're trying to use calendars to use the animals.
Do you know what year we're in?
Another superstition. Do you know about a calendar that gives you a sign based on the stars? Based on the
Wait.
What type of calendar is that?
Do you know what your sign is? Or do you know any of the signs? Yeah, the zodiac calendar, an astrological calendar. So there's a lot of superstition about those too.
Yep, astrology. So in other words, you look at this and every day you can read somewhere like, oh, today you're going to do this. It's like a Chinese fortune cookie.
Yeah. So right now Venus is in retrograde. What
Miss
is that?
Templeton knows about it.
It means Venus is moving back a path it just took, and so a lot of people believe that means fun stuff.
Questions answered.
Bless you. Yeah, so there's another type of calendar I didn't even think to bring up, but yeah, and a lot of people look at those for fun. A lot of people actually believe in those, but that would be those superstitions that, and a superstition is something that typically is not provable, right? You just go, ooh, I think I'm going to have bad luck today because I walked under a ladder. That's a superstition. Yeah.
I looked up different calendars, and then there's like the names, and then the type. Like, what does this type mean?
What does this type mean? And she's looking at a list of calendars here. It says solar, lunar, solar, solar. What? When I say the word solar, what do you think of? The sun. And when I say lunar, you think of the moon. We kind of learned that in our Greek mythology, and we're going to see that our calendars do base their logic on lunar and solar, and that's part of the confusion of which calendar do we follow and why can't we pinpoint when so-and-so was born, or the founding of Rome. That's that little, again, that circa, that little C that we have to identify with approximately this many years ago.
Isn't there a calendar called the celestial calendar?
Well, celestial would be what?
Outer.
Okay, the stars in general. So, yeah. Maya.
In China, your birthdays aren't the day you were born, it's on the New Year's, so you get a year older.
Okay, so on the news, everybody turns the same age on the same day, huh? Is that,
Yeah.
what year is it? Is it the year of the chicken right now?
Yeah, we're here. Rooster.
Year of the rooster, on the Chinese calendar he's looking at, so. Miss Templeton asked Maya if she knew what sign she was, and it's based on the
Celestial
stars.
calendar.
Yeah, celestial calendar. I know I fall under Sagittarius because of my birthday. So, Libra? Okay. So, that would be some fun stuff for you to look up later. Okay, let's move on. Number 4. How do you find noon? Define the word noon. When someone says, I'll meet you at noon. Andrew?
Midday.
Midday. What does that mean?
Like your, tab.
It's not easy, is it? Elizabeth?
12 o'clock.
Okay, she wants to put an actual time to it. And usually if I say, Miss Templeton, let's go to, Cup of Joe's, let's meet at noon on Saturday, she and I will both agree we're going to meet at noon. All right? But do you think that means the same for everybody?
What does midday mean? What do you mean by midday?
So like you're halfway.
So if I went, is halfway between when it gets light and when it gets dark the same time every day?
Halfway between
I looked up
But what if she said she wanted to meet me at noon and she thought that was 12 and I thought it was halfway between when the sun came up and when the sun came down? Would we always match up?
That would still
No,
be the same
Why?
season. Because in summer, it's brighter for longer, and then in the winter, because of what's it called that where we like change the clocks and stuff, it makes it so that it's darker sooner.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it has to do with where we are in our rotation around the sun, right? Or the one-year revolution. What we can identify now is a one-year revolution because we're advanced enough in science. Gilberto.
Does everyone have the same time at noon? Like everyone?
Everybody has the same time. Is it 5 minutes to 10 everywhere?
No. Time zone.
Time zone. Yeah. Now, Gilberto, you're a little disadvantaged. I think these guys had a lesson on that last year.
No, we had crossword too.
Oh, you had? Did I go? Oh, you know what?
That was before
That's
you
right.
came here.
Yes,
So-
and I think my guest teacher back in the fall went over, and I don't remember which class it was, but yes. So, great question. Is everybody, so again, if I'm calling somebody who lives like my kids, live in Michigan. My 2 oldest kids live in Michigan, they're at school, and so when I say, hey, I'll call you at such and such time, they go, Michigan time or Iowa time? And that what they mean is Eastern time zone versus Central time zone, okay? And we always have to clarify that because we live an hour apart. So it's 5 minutes to 11 for them. They're getting, probably have to lunch soon. Yes, Elizabeth.
So like they could mean like maybe like they could mean like they maybe think like noon is like a different time instead of like always 12. So I could think like noon is like 11:30 or something.
Okay.
Like
Yeah. So using these terms are good. And Ms. Templeton's point of when is midday, and we saw 2 different definitions of that. Zach.
Russia and Alaska, like how they're like not that far away from each other, would they still be the same time zone, or would it? Nope.
If you look up a map of time zones, the international date line, if you look up that international date line, squiggles all the way through the Pacific Ocean. In fact, it squiggles around countries on purpose so that we're not chopping up countries. All right? But Alaska being so humongo, all right, it is in several different time zones. Depending if you're in the Panhandle or if you're way out west in the Aleutian Islands. So if you look up International Dayline and an image of it, you'll see it. So hopefully that would answer your question. And I believe it splits right down the Bering Sea there. It splits Russia off from Alaska. I'm pretty sure I'm looking over Anna's shoulder here. But again, notice how that line, unlike other lines of longitude, which are typically straight from north to south pole, we're actually dealing with a definite distinction. And we've talked about that too. If you travel from one hemisphere to the other, eastern to western, western to eastern, you're either losing a day or you're gaining a day. It really messes with your body. Oh, that's another thing. Your body clock. You have a body
Yeah.
clock, a natural thing that your body does. Another great science topic. We won't really touch on it.
Yeah, what is that called?
Circadian rhythm.
Yeah.
You're good, Michaela. Circadian rhythm. It tells your body when to sleep, not just when you're tired, but it does have to do with night and day. Do you know there's a commercial on right now, and it's a blind man who said he lost his sight fighting for our military, and he's got his dog walking through like a railroad station or an airport, and it's for medication, it's for a drug. But he says, as a blind man, his body gets confused with the circadian rhythm because he does not see the sunlight versus lack of sunlight like us people with sight do.
Do you guys know how long a human circadian rhythm is? How long would you guess? How long is one cycle? When you go through one whole rhythm, how long do you think that takes your body?
1 day.
How long is that?
That's
24 hours.
So, unfortunately, the human circadian rhythm is 23 hours, which isn't great, because then you end up with,
Interesting. I did not know that. Very good.
So
it doesn't quite line up.
So what would that be?
It means you get tired at weird times every once in a while when it catches up to you. Yeah.
And we get tired for multiple reasons, obviously.
Yeah.
And huge left turn here. We don't want to go too far left turn, but definitely something else that has to do with our topic of calendars. Anna.
My hamster, she would like.
Woo! That was a huge left turn there.
She would like be up, like it'd be her morning time, but I would be night because she's nocturnal. But like she would know what time she had to get up and everything.
And animals have that. That's kind of a naturally built-in thing with animals, for obvious reasons. My dog cannot read a clock. Yes.
I love how many calendars there are. It says there's approximately 40.
40 calendars.
Yeah.
We just touched on a couple of them. Colin.
So instead of taking a left turn, do you want us to take do you want us to take a right turn?
Sure, you can take a right turn, but I definitely want a U-turn back to our time.
Right. Oh, you're so right.
All right, Colin. All right. Number 5. How is the average day divided? We've already touched on this a little bit. Michael.
Morning, noon, and night.
Okay. One way to look at it.
3 meals, 24 hours.
Did you just say 3 meals?
Yeah, you
Not talk like that.
3 meals. Like usually we have one at the end of the day, one in the halfway through the day, and then one at the end of the day.
Okay. If you're, and I don't know if there's a way to put it.
though if you eat every 8 hours?
Not always.
Because that would be, you'd eat at like 12 a.m., 8 a.m., and then,
We'll eat lunch at the same time, but like over the weekends, I'm sure everyone else eats at different times. Like I don't eat breakfast sometimes.
yeah.
Or if you're like me, you eat whenever you're hungry. Which is all the time.
I know.
But another way to define a day. How else can we define our average day being divided? Go back.
AM and PM?
Okay. Do you know what those terms mean?
No. What do they mean?
After midnight, before or
Morning is after morning.
Okay, that's the way we interpret them. But does anyone actually know the Latin terms? Look them up.
Yeah.
The 12-hour clock is a time convention in which the 24 hours of the day are divided into 2 periods. AM from the Latin ante-meridian, meaning before midday, and PM post-meridian, meaning after midday.
Okay, meridian. Have we heard that term before?
Like the
post-meridian.
Yeah. Meridian. No. Line of
She's pointing back there to our lines of
latitude.
Well, it has to do with geography, and it has to do with location, which obviously now goes back to our concept of one day. Okay, so we've got meals, we've got AM, PM. What else defines our division of one day?
24 hours.
24 hours. Okay, and we go back to hours, minutes, seconds, etc. Okay. I mean, let's face it, we live our lives on the clock, don't we? That bell rings and you're out of here to your next class, unless your teacher says, "Sit down, I'm not done." Right? Not that I've ever done that.
You just expect us to stay sitting until you don't talk.
Yes, I do, and thank you for that. Morning, day, night.
Well,
I think of a funny Big Bang Theory, which I don't know if you guys. And Sheldon Cooper has like like all kinds of different terms. He has pre-evening, and I mean, it's just funny because it's Sheldon Cooper, and that's the way Sheldon Cooper thinks, if you know what I'm talking about. So different ways to divide his day. And I would bet, based on our family culture, the people we live with, everybody in here has a different definition of how we divide our day up. Some of us barely roll out of bed to get to the school bus, right? Some of you are morning people, you're up doing your morning routine, you're eating breakfast, you know, and same thing with our evening routines. Julie?
I was just saying I was a morning person.
Julie's a morning person, yeah? Now, hang on a second, time out. Here's my question, what does that mean, Julie?
That a certain person has a certain time they like to get up. They have a certain morning routine, and they like to do it, and they stick to it every morning.
Okay. Are some people night people or evening people, and they have the same thing? Some people just do their best work in the mornings. Julie was on a farm, right? You have farming, and those of you who live on farms, I'll bet the Hansons have a very regimented day, because guess what? Those cows that we love to drink their milk and eat their ice cream are very, very regimented. All right? Shaking his head yes up here. All right. So Julie's a morning person. Some of us do our best work in the evening. All right? And part of it is our circadian rhythm. I would guess would have some impact. Yes, question, Ryan.
It's not really a question, but
Okay.
I was looking up the zodiac sign of my birthday and stuff, and I learned that the first false teeth was created on the
Very cool. Yeah, there's some interesting things there. So, any other ways we divide our day up? All right, let's get to some science. What is the rotation period of the Earth? Now, you may be very surprised by this. No, the rotation of the Earth around its axis. Okay, remember, the Earth does two things. It rotates on its axis,
and it rotates
and it goes all the way zooming around the sun. So let's talk about it rotating on its axis. You sure?
No, 23 hours and 56 minutes.
You sure?
Hey.
That's what Mr. Google says. Okay. 23 hours, 56 minutes. Wait a second. Last time I checked,
4 minutes long.
there are 24 hours on that clock, and every other clock that I'm familiar with. Except, well, Ryan.
Oh, it's because there's leap year
Well, it's not because of leap year. It's
well,
actually,
leap year
and we're going to get into conversations on that.
oh yeah, there's like about I think 4 minutes times like 365 is about 24 hours I think. So that's what they add another day.
Okay. Where does that day show up?
Well, February 29th.
Okay. And yeah, so again, we can talk leap year and so on and so forth. We're not in one this year. We'll talk more about that later in this. All right, so look at number 7. What is a solar year? And I had the question before, lunar solar. Well, now we're going to talk about that. Let's use that word. What is a solar year? Ben?
When the sun is in front of the state where you live in.
Good thought. Maya?
How many times the Earth orbits the sun?
How many times or
How long it takes?
how long it takes? Helen?
The period of time required for this.
Helen likes to read. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Google.
The period of time required for the Earth to make one complete revolution around the sun, measured from one vernal equinox
Equinox, there's that word again.
to the next equal to 365 days, 5 hours, 48 minutes, 45.51 seconds, also called an astronomical year, the tropical year.
Okay, so a lot of words there, but it boils down to this. Is the one trip from this exact point to the same exact point as we travel around our sun, is it exactly a nice round number?
I don't think so.
No, it's not. Do you think our ancient people knew that?
No.
No, of course not. They didn't have the technology to figure that out. It took a lot of smart people all through history to figure these things out. Okay, so it's at 365 point something something something. Look up that decimal. There's like 4 decimal places. I want to say point .2524 or .2425? I can't remember that exact decimal. Look up the decimal. Look up the celestial year, the solar year, and look up the decimal, the exact decimal.
Every class.
I don't.
365.242199 days.
Yeah.
How do we get that to this lovely round number, 365? Well, you guys know enough about rounding. And we'll get to more of that as we move through this lesson. All right. Look up, this is not a question on there, look up lunar year. How long is a lunar year? Carson.
It's a period of 12 lunar months, approximately 354 days.
Oh, wait a second. I thought our solar year is 365 point something something something, and you're talking 354.
That might be how many.
What's the difference between those two numbers if you round them? 365, the solar year and the lunar year.
It's 9.
Is your math right?
Not bad. 20.
Oh, please don't make me do math in a classroom. Right, what's the difference?
I mean, like between 365 and 354.
Yes. 11 days. Ooh, remember that number. That is magically going to show up later as we get into this a little bit more tomorrow and the next day. And it's going to affect a very famous person's life immensely. In fact, he's here in the classroom with us. So. No, not you. Is that question?
But we're only thinking 27.
Okay, so 27 days. What if you do that times 12?
What is it saying happens in 27 days?
Yes.
What is that?
That's when it travels from the upward.
Yeah, that's right.
The other question I want you to think about is back to our trip around the sun, what we would normally call our, quote, year. Do you think we have like railroad tracks? Those don't move, right? Because if they move, the poor people on the train will travel. Do you think we travel on a rail around our sun?
No.
Are we in the exact same path every single year?
No.
No, and that affects how much time it takes. Good. All right, next question. Back to our page. What happens when the calendar year is shorter than the solar year? Maya.
We have a leap day.
Okay. Scroll a little bit further down on your document. I have a couple paragraphs toward the bottom. Okay, if you look at the very last paragraph there, just scan through that real quick. That's kind of what Maya just said. Why do we have leap years? In other words, what happens when the solar year and the calendar year don't match? Yeah, think about that, folks. If this happened over millennial after millennial after millennial, would us farmers here in Iowa be planting our seeds in what we would consider spring? When the ground is the right temperature and the air is the right temperature and we get the right amount of precipitation? The answer is no. You wait long enough time goes by, we're going to be planting our crops in fall, which we know is deadly. Our crops won't grow. So we have to, as farmers, and all the way back into history, all the way back to Mesopotamia, have to follow the seasons, even if the seasons don't match our calendar. And over 1 or 2 years, it's no big deal, but over 1,000 years, 2,000 years, 3,000 years, going back into ancient Egypt 5,000 and 6,000 years ago, we're going to be planting our crops at the wrong time of the year if we don't follow the solar, the nature, the way our solar system has been established. Okay? All right, so that, again, you can read through that, but that is one of these effects of the fact that the calendar does not match the actual time passage based on our movements in our solar system. All right, next question. Where are we?
What?
All right, the Julian calendar, instituted in Rome by Julius Caesar in 46 BC or BCE, assumed that the length of the solar year was 365.25 days. Was he right?
We do know.
Is he right? He's pretty darn close.
Yeah.
For considering the lack of technology at this time. All they had were some very, very basic tools to look at the stars and the movement of the stars in the sky and base the movements of the earth and study the natural phenomenon of the earth and its movements. In other words, scientists versus mythology.
Do you guys know what misconceptions scientists had in the West about space that might have been hard to make it a calendar? What did we think about the Earth and the Sun?
They revolve around us.
Yeah.
Good
So
one.
it's pretty hard to make a solar calendar because the sun is the one moving around.
And there's a whole other history there. The Catholic Church, powerful church at this time in history, actually killed people because they said, "Oh no, it rotated around the sun, or revolved around the sun," because they wanted the Earth to be the center of the universe, not the sun. Even though we had the tools at the time to then make that, and there's in here, some famous names when you study at Copernicus and some other interesting names there too. So, all right, back to our question though. I got halfway through it. How was that fraction taken into account? We've already kind of answered that. That 0.25, even though it's not exactly 0.25. How was that 0.25 taken into account? And they figured this out in ancient Rome. Colin.
I think it's every 4 years that 0.25 of one day becomes another day.
And we've already discussed this. When do we see that show up? Okay. Is that exactly every 4 years? For the most part, yes. But again, there's one little twist in that, which we'll look at later as well. All right. Look at. Well, number 10 confirms that. Now, do you and I still use the Julian calendar? Julius Caesar. Do we still use the same exact calendar? When?
Not exactly, but we still use the same months. Like, yeah.
All right, and you will have an assignment on the names of those months and some discovery as far as Julius, the Julian calendar. No, we do not. Okay, somebody mentioned something like a Gregorian calendar. Yeah. Number 11. Pope Gregory, 1582, took care of some of these problems of the seasons shifting around our calendar. By that time, we were off by about 10, almost 11 days. Okay. What was the change it introduced, and what was the connection with the year two? And I have the year 2000 down there. First of all, none of y'all were alive in 2000. Miss Templeton, do you remember it? How old were you?
I was 4.
Okay, probably not. What do we do every New Year's Eve? We sit around and wait for the ball to drop, right?
Yeah.
And we celebrate going into the New Year. Well, the year 2000, first of all, they were off by a year. They were not starting the new century in 2000, the end of that. But anyway, I'm allowing for all that misinformation out there. People were freaking out all over the world. Okay, now, who celebrates technically the New Year first? Where approximately in the world? China.
Oh.
Okay, over close to that international date line. So China, Australia, big cities like Sydney are celebrating it way before we are. People all over were freaking out that our computers were going to crash. My gosh, this huge panic. Nothing happened because of the way our computers are now designed as we keep time. Look that up sometime. You look back, it was like, oh, the Earth's going to end because the year 2000 is rolling on, because it had an impact by even the changes with the Gregorian calendar. So, all right, 12. George, one of our heroes. I said, he's in our classroom. His life was affected by that 10-11 day issue. Look at this question. His birthday is February 22nd, based on a Gregorian calendar. But something happened. And George liked to say that he was so-and-so old based on the old style calendar. What happened, Julie?
George Washington, and he estimated he was born the 22nd, but he said he was born the 11th.
Why? Was he confused? I thought he was a smart
No.
guy.
I read it once, but I think it was because he said it was like
Ryan.
I think the fact that 22 and 11 are 11 numbers away, I think that had something to do with the location that he was using. He didn't go by anything.
Okay, so George, just basically years and years ago, was supposedly born. But something happened in the 1700s. You know those 11 days that Ryan did the nice math there for before? In the 1700s, after George had been born, our calendar literally lost 11 days overnight. So tomorrow, folks, when we come back to school, it will be April 15th. Just telling you that right now. Tomorrow's going to be April 15th.
Okay, cool.
How would that impact your lives?
It'd be all
Okay, one at a time.
School's almost over.
One at a time. Quinn, how would that affect your life if tomorrow was April 15th?
Because then school would be over sooner.
Oh, she's looking at it a positive thing, but when you love school, you don't want school to be over. Miss Shayla, how would that impact your life?
I would miss my brother's birthday, and I would be very sad.
Oh, you missed your brother's birthday. Colin, how would that affect your life?
I'd be happy because we'd have less school and more summer.
All right, we already heard that. Let's hear a different reason how it would impact your life.
Anything you scheduled, you would miss.
Okay, I've told you I've got this calendar I keep because, well, let's face it, I have 6 people's lives plus, I even got Miss Templeton on my calendar. So this is my life, all right? Oh, that's nothing. Let me show you February.
Oh, wow.
Okay, that's my life. Yes, that is an adult's life. All right, get used to it. You're gonna get there eventually. April's not too terribly full, but if I lost it, I would lose everything. As Anna said, everything I have scheduled. I would lose my dog's blood work at the veterinarian. Alyssa's retainer would not get fixed. I won't have to bring desserts for the track dinner next Monday. Yeah. What else would it do to your life?
I missed Thomas Jefferson's birthday.
Oh, we missed Thomas Jefferson's birthday. We know Julie is an expert on our presidents.
Oh
my Elizabeth, how would that affect your life?
What?
He said Thomas Jefferson.
Who said that? Spencer?
Spencer! Come on!
You're on a piece of
I think Spencer slept through 5th grade social studies last night.
I think he did.
He signed the contract.
All right, Elizabeth, we were asking you, how would a loss of 11 days affect your life?
Maybe there's like something really important you have to do and like you're gonna miss it. Or like
Okay,
maybe there's like each life is different.
okay.
So maybe
Lane, how would it affect your life?
I would just spend time to eat food.
All right, you'd miss your restaurant. There's
Probably be hungry.
Aiden.
I'd miss time that I have to spend with my family, and I wouldn't be able to see my cousins
that
every day,
would
which
make
I
you
don't
so
see very much.
Yeah. Couple more. Isaac.
I would miss turkey season. If you had to use that phrase this week.
Oh, we missed the start of turkey hunting season. Gwen, we already asked you, but go ahead.
Yeah, 11 years closer to death because,
11 days closer to dying. Let's face it, it's going to happen to everybody.
We have like 70 years left.
You sure?
you don't know that.
You might
get
know that,
sick
do you?
and die at 30.
See hands, please, so we can hear dialogue. 6th grade. Hold back together, please. Thank you. Jack.
I missed my birthday?
Your birthday, so not just a brother's birthday or seeing
They're on the
cousins.
same day, so.
Oh, okay. Or family time. We would actually miss Zach's birthday. And the cupcakes he's going to bring all of us.
Oh, I'd get,
Oh, brownies. Okay. Last one, Carson.
I'd get chicken and on Amazon quicker.
Okay, because it's not coming until. Okay, so you can see. Let's wrap it up because we're just about out of time. We would see some very positive, some possibly very negative things impacted. And we'll come back to this topic tomorrow on what happened in the 1700s. Good job today, guys.